Yeah, we're going to factor, and we're going to factor the most common pattern, which is the trinomial pattern with the one leading coefficient. We're talking particularly one like this. Okay, that is a trinomial, a quadratic trinomial with a leading coefficient of 1. And what we're looking for are two numbers which multiply to 12 but add to 7. Okay, multiply to 12 and add to 7. So what I'm going to do is focus on the 12, come to the side, and this won't always be necessary. And after you get used to it a little bit, you may hardly ever do this. I'm going to make a list of all the things that go into 12. Well, 1 goes into 12 times. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. And I could say, well, 4 goes into 12 3 times, but I've already listed that. And when you start repeating like that, then you know you're done with the list. Okay. So we've looked at every combination of numbers, at least all the positive combinations that multiply to 12. Which of those three add to 7? Well, 1 plus 12, that adds to 13. 2 plus 6 adds to 8. 3 plus 4 adds to 7. This is the combination that I want. All right, so here's what I do. I'm going to write two factors that are, factors just means two things you multiply together. I'm going to put x and x right here because I know when I FOIL, x times x is x squared. I'm going to put these numbers in these positions. I like to put the larger number first, though it doesn't matter. I'll tell you why I put the larger number first when we see a couple examples. But the correct answer is x plus 4 and x plus 3. Now, the reason that works, you'll see if you fold them back together, but with this video, I just want to show you how to do it. Okay, so we'll explain why it works later, but basically, it always looks like this, and the numbers here and here are numbers which multiply to 12. 4 times 3 is 12, and they add to 7. 4 plus 3 is 7. It's 7. Okay, looking at a second example, let's put a minus in there. So get something like this. Okay, so we'll call this problem number 1. This is problem number 2. Okay. Again, I'm looking for two numbers which multiply to negative 35, but at the same time add to positive 2. Now, when you multiply to negative, the only way that it's going to happen is if your two factors have opposite signs, one being positive, one being negative. Always consider the number 1 first. We could have 1 and 35. But again, one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative. So either the 1 is negative or the 35 is negative. And the only other thing that goes into 35 would be 5. And it goes in there 7 times. Now, I'm going to show you on the calculator how to come up with this list systematically. But again, a lot of people don't even come up with a list. They'll just think through their head all the combinations. But we could have a negative 5 or negative 7. Now, that's it. Those 4 combinations. Which one adds to positive 2? Well, it's clearly not one of these two. Those aren't going to add to 2. It's going to be one of these two. Negative 5 plus 7 is 2. Now, if you don't know that, you would use a calculator. A lot of people struggle with signs. 5 plus negative 7 would be negative 2. So this is actually the one we need. Okay. So when you have a negative in this position, you're really thinking more subtract. You are adding, but when you add opposite signs, you're really subtracting. Okay. So again, just like in this one, put my 2 parentheses, put my 2 x's. This you can do without even thinking about it. You just always write the x's there. And I like to write the bigger number first. I'm going to put positive 7, which is bigger than negative 5. Now, why is it that I'm putting the bigger number first? Again, you don't have to, but it sets up a nice rule. That rule is this: if the larger number is written first, and when I say larger number, that's actually regardless of sign, the bigger number will always match this first sign. Okay, again, if you forget about signs for these two for a minute, 7 is larger than 5, and positive 7 is larger than negative 5 also. But even if it were reversed, the bigger number always matches the first sign. So that helps people sometimes. With number 3, I'm going to give you one that has a longer list of factors. And I'm going to show you a different way of coming up with those factors. So how about this time we see something like this? Okay. Now, instead of coming up with a list of factors of 48, there are many of them. I'm going to show you on both the calculator and on Desmos. And of course, calculators, you're going to have different calculators, but most of them have a table feature. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this a little bit. Hopefully you can see that okay. But the TI-30XS is very common calculator. And what you'll do is press table. And we're going to take the number, this number right here, if you can see my pen down here, the 48, and type it in. And for the calculator, it doesn't really matter if you do negative or positive. So I'm just going to say 48 divided by X. Now, if you're watching this and you have a TI-30X, your X is beside the 4, the number 4 over there on the left. I'm going to press enter. It's going to tell me where to start in step. I'm going to start usually around 0 and step by 1. I don't know how well you can see it, but what it does is give you this table. You can see that 1 and 48, 2 and 24, and I can just scroll down. And remember, my signs here, we got to add the 2, but add sometimes is really subtract. So we need numbers either add or subtract the 2. Well, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, those are all good. Now, when you encounter a decimal,